Vaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo
Om Namo
Bhagavate
Bhagavate
Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om
Om
Ajnanatimirandasya
Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana
Jnananjanashalakaya
Shalakaya
Chakshurunmilitam
Chakshurunmilitam
Yena
Yena
Tasmai
Tasmai
Shri
Shri
Gurave
Gurave
Namaha.
Namah.
Shri
Shri
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Manobhishtam Sthapitam
Pitam
Yena
Yena
Bhutale
Bhutale
Swayam
Swayam
Rupa
Rupa
Kada
Kada
Mahyam
Mayam
Dadati
Dadati
Swapadantikam
Swapadantikam
Vandeham
Vandeham
Shri
Sri
Guroho
Guru
Shri Yuta
Sriyuta Padakamalam
Padakamalam Shri
Sri
Gurun
Guru Vaishnavanscha
Vaishnavanscha
Sri
Shri
Rupam
Rupam Sagrajatam
Sagrajatam
Sahagana
Sahagana
Raghunatanvitam Tam
Raghunathanvitam Tam
Sajivam
Sajivam
Sadvaitam
Sadvaitam
Savadutam
Savadutam
Parijana
Parijana
Sahitam
Sahitam
Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Devam
Devam
Shri
Sri
Radha
Radha
Krishna
Krishna
Padan
Padan
Sahagana
Lalita
Shri
Sri
Vishakhan
Vishakha
Vitamsha
Vishnu
He
Hare
Krishna
Krishna
Karuna
Karuna Sindhu
Sindhu Dinabandhu
Bando
Jagatpate
Jagatpate
Gopesha
Gopesha
Gopika
Gopika
Kanta
Kanta
Radha
Radha
Kanta
Kanta
Namostute
Namostute
Tapta
Tapta
Kancana
Kanchana
Gaurangi
Gaurangi
Radhe
Radhe
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrindavaneshwari
Vrishabhanusute
Vrishabhanusute Devi
Devi Pranamami
Pranamami Hari
Haripriye
Priye
Vancha
Vacha
Kalpatarubhyascha
Kalpatarubhyasya
Kripa
Kripa
Sindhubhya Evacha
Sindhubhyo
Patitanam
Patitanam
Pavanebhyo
Pavanebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Vaishnavebhyo
Namo
Namo
Namaha.
Namah
Nama
Namah
Om
Om
Vishnu
Vishnu
Padaya
Padaya
Krishna
Krishna
Prestaya
Preshtaya
Bhutale
Bhutale
Srimate
Srimate Bhakti
Bhakti
Vedanta
Vedanta Swami
Swami Niti
Nityananda.
Namine Namaste
Namaste
Saraswate
Saraswate
Deve
Deve Gauravani
Gauravani
Pracharine
Pracharine Nirvishesha
Nirvishesha
Shunyavadi
Shunyavadi Paschat
Paschata Desha Tarine
Tarane Jai
Jai
Shri
Shri
Krishna
Krishna
Chaitanya
Chaitanya
Prabhu
Prabhu
Nityananda
Nityananda
Shri
Sri
Advaita
Advaita
Gadadhara
Gadadhara
Srivasadi
Srivasadi
Gaura Bhakta
Gauravakta
Vrinda Hare
Hare
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Krishna,
Krishna Krishna
Krishna
Krishna
Krishna,
Hare
Hare Hare,
Hare
Hare
Rama
Hare
Hare
Rama,
Rama Rama
Rama
Rama
Rama,
Hare
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 Hare.
Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki Jai Shri Prabhupada ki Jai Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki Jai Hare Krishna Prabhuji. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita chapter 8, attaining the Supreme or Akshar Brahma Yoga. And then last week, actually, we read a couple of verses describing about the material nature. So couple of weeks, what we have been reading is that first, Krishna is answering the questions of Arjuna, and then the last question that how one can think of him before leaving this material body. So he's answering, giving him information about how one can think of him, about and what are the destinations of the people who live in different consciousness. And then he gave that information that from the highest planet, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna, Mamupatya Kaunteya Punarjanma na Vidyate. That this whole universe, which is made up of 14 different planetary systems, the topmost is known as Brahma Loka or Satya Loka, and then the bottom is the Patala Loka. So it doesn't matter where one takes birth or where one goes in this planetary system, but he is always bound by the cycle of birth and death. But one who reaches Krishna's abode or Vaikuntha Loka or Goloka Vrindavan, so any spiritual planet, he never has to take birth again. And then we read last week few verses where he's giving description of Brahma's age and how even that is temporary from the eternal life or eternity. So he gave that Sahasra Yuga Paryantam Aharyad Brahmana Vidu, that by human calculation, 1,000 ages taken together form one one day of Brahma. So 1,000 yugas. So one yuga is comprised of the 4 yuga, that is Satya Yuga, Treta Yuga, Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga. This one, all 4 together make one Divya Yuga, and 1,000 like that make one Brahma's day, and same is also his night. And then at the beginning of Brahma's day, all living entities become manifest. So they come into being and they start continuing with their life, and whatever karma they have accumulated, they start experiencing or the facing the results of that karma, and they earn new karma. So based on whatever karmic reactions they have, the karma bandhan that they have created, they get different types of bodies, and they continue to work and become manifest in this material world. And as the night comes, they become unmanifest again and merge into the unmanifest avyakta. And then in the 19th verse, what we read, again and again, when Brahma's day comes, the living entity come into being, and when the night comes, they helplessly, avasha, they are annihilated. So today we will read maybe a couple of verses where he gives description of the spiritual planet. Then, other than this manifesting and unmanifesting, the universe, that material universe that is manifested and unmanifested, it becomes avyakta and vyakta again and again. Beyond this, there is a spiritual world. There is a spiritual realm where there are many spiritual planets. It is much, much bigger than the material creation, which itself is so big that it has billions of universes, and we are just a tiny part of one of the universe. So we'll read text 20 today, so where he is explaining about that spiritual world. So let's recite. Parastasmatu bhavonyo
Parastasmatu bhavonyo.
Parastasmatu bhavonyo
Parastasmatu bhavonyo.
Vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha.
Vyakto vyaktat sanatana.
Vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha.
Vyakto vyaktat sanatana.
Yah sa sarveshu bhuteshu.
Yas sa sarveshu bhuteshu.
Yah sa sarveshu bhuteshu.
Yas sa sarveshu bhuteshu.
Nashyatsu na vinashyati.
Nachatsu na vinashyati.
Nashyatsu na vinashyati.
Nachatsu na vinashyati.
Parastasmatu bhavonyo
Parastasmatu bhavonyo.
Vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha.
Vyakto vyaktat sanatana.
Yah sa sarveshu bhuteshu.
Yah sa sarveshu bhuteshu.
Nashyatsu na vinashyati.
Nashatsu na vinashyati.
Okay, let's take a couple of recitations. So, how about Rajesh Prabhu? You want to recite?
Anantaram
Yes.
parastasmattu bhavenyo
Parastasmatu bhavonyo.
vyakto vyaktat sanatanaha
Vyakto vyaktat sanatana.
yah sarveshu bhuteshu
Yah sa sarveshu bhuteshu.
nasyatsu na vinasyati.
Nashatsu na vinashyati.
Madhu Prabhu, will you be able to recite?
हाँ प्रभु
Yes.
परस्तस्मात् भावोऽन्यो
Parastasmatu bhavonyo.
व्यक्तो व्यक्तात् सनातनः
Vyakto vyaktat sanatana.
यस्य सर्वेषु भूतेषु
Yah sa sarveshu bhuteshu.
नश्यत्सु न विनश्यति.
Nashatsu na vinashyati.
Thank you, Madhu Prabhu. So, word for word translation. Paraha means transcendental or divya. Tasmat means to that. Tu means but. Bhavaha means nature. Anyah means another. Avyakta means unmanifest. Avyaktat means to the unmanifest. Sanatana means eternal. Yah sa means that which. Sarveshu means all. Bhuteshu means manifestation. Nashyatsu means being annihilated. Na means never. Vinashyati means is annihilated. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. So Krishna is here saying, yet there is another unmanifest nature which is eternal and is transcendental to this manifested and unmanifested matter. It is supreme and is never annihilated. When all in this world is annihilated, that part remains as it is. So, couple of verses ago, he mentioned that few things, that Mamupetya Punarjanma Dukkhalayam Ashashvatam. So this world, this material universe or material universes, this material whole creation, which comprise of unlimited universes, is actually the place of misery, Dukkhalayam, and is also temporary, Ashashvatam. So this becomes Avyakta and Vyakta again and again. And then he elaborated again in the next few verses that Abrahma Bhuvana Loka Punaravartino Arjuna, that it doesn't matter where the living entity gets birth, even from the Brahma's planet, topmost planet, to there are other Swarga Lokas, Maharloka, Janaloka, Tapaloka, and then Bhuloka. And below us are there hellish planets, that is Tal, Etal, Vital, Sutal, up to Patal. So it doesn't matter where he gets birth, he has to come back again, and he is bound by this cycle of birth and death. And then to give description, then in last couple of verses, we read that the duration of Brahma's day is 1000 of the humanly yugas, Divya yugas. So that makes about 3.4 billion or trillion years of from human calculation. That is just one day of Brahma. And then such is his life of 100 years. After that, the whole universe is annihilated. Everything becomes dormant. But what Krishna is saying further, there is yet another unmanifest nature beyond this whole material creation, which is eternal and transcendental. It is beyond this manifested and unmanifested matter. So even this, so now here, Pralaya and Utpatti is happening. Srushti, Sthiti, Pralaya. These things are happening again and again in cyclic manner. So it is created, it stays for some time, and then it is annihilated. And we learned last time that there are 4 types of Pralaya: Nitya, Prakritika, Naimittika, and Atyantika. So this whole material creation is going through different types of pralayas. Everything here is temporary, and we see practically everywhere around us, right? Everything that is created, be it a living entity who gets birth, that he has to die. He or she, they have to die. Even material manifestation, even if there is a building or anything created, it has its own life. It may be longer as compared to others, but it has its own life, and it gets, eventually it deteriorates and it gets annihilated or it is destroyed. So everything in this material creation is temporary. So it gets annihilated and it is created again. So that cycle, it is going through that cycle. Bhutva bhutva praliyate. That's what we read in last couple of verses. But that world or that part of the creation, that is spiritual planetary system, which is eternal and transcendental to this creation and destruction. And when all the world is annihilated, this material world, that part of the creation remains as it is. And that is what is called the spiritual world, or in that spiritual creation, there are unlimited Vaikuntha. So those Vaikuntha planets, the name Vaikuntha comes from Vigata Kuntha iti Vaikuntha, or Vigata Kuntha Tasmad Vaikuntha. Vigata means without, Kuntha means anxieties or distress. So the place where there are no anxieties, no miseries, no distress, no suffering, that place is called Vaikuntha. So that planet, that spiritual planet where once one is gone, he never comes back again. That Krishna is giving information about that spiritual realm now. So in continuation of what he's saying, that parastasmatu bhava anya, there is another nature, another bhava, which avyakta vyakta sanatana, which is beyond, which is eternal and beyond this manifest avyakta and vyakta, which here everything is temporarily becoming avyakta and vyakta. Yeah, sa sarveshu bhuteshu. I'm just going to put everyone.
I don't need to message you.
So, yeah, sa sarveshu bhuteshu, and that part, even everything, all the living entities and all this material nature is annihilated. Nashyasu na vinashyati. That is never annihilated. That part is never annihilated. So let's read the purport. This is a short purport, and we'll describe a little. Actually, we can read the next, that is continuation of this, and then we can discuss a little bit more. So, Sunil Prabhu, yeah, do you want to read the purport quickly?
Krishna's superior spiritual energy is transcendental and eternal. It is beyond all the changes of material nature, which is manifest and annihilated during the days and nights of Brahma. Krishna's superior energy is completely opposite in quality to material nature. Superior and inferior nature are explained in the 7th chapter.
Thank you, Prabhuji. So in the 7th chapter, we read about these two natures, right? In the 4th and 5th verse, or 4, 5, 6 verses, Lord Krishna explains about this material, spiritual nature. And then he eventually says that everything in this creation is made up of these two energies. So first he says that bhumirapanalo vayu kham mano buddhirevacha ahankara iti yamme bhinna prakriti rashtada. That there are my separated material energies, which comprise of 8 of those. What are those? Earth, water, fire, air, ether, then mind, intelligence, and false ego, or ahankar. Bhumi, apa, or prithvi, jal, agni, vayu, akash, man, buddhi, ahankar. So these 8 are my separated, bhinna prakriti ashtada. But in the 5th verse, he says in the 7th chapter that aparayam tu itastvanya prakrutim viddhime param. So all these material energies he calls as apara, means inferior in nature. But there is another nature, he says, which is para prakriti, or the transcendental or superior nature. And what is that? Jiva bhutam mahabaho yedam dharyate. Jiva bhutam, which are actually the spiritual energy of Krishna. We are all living entities, are the spiritual spark, and we are also spiritual energy of Krishna, and which are exploiting this material world, or utilizing this material world and trying to lord it over and utilizing for our own sense gratification, trying it hard here for our own sense enjoyment. So these two are energies, the material and spiritual energies. And then further he says, actually, in that etad yonini bhutani aham krishnasya jagata prabhava pralayasta, that whole creation is made up of these two energies, and aham krishnasya jagata, Krishna means complete. I am the source of all these, both of these energy, and as well as I am the source of prabhava, creation, and pralaya, annihilation. Prabhava pralayastata. So his energy is working beyond this in the creation and annihilation of everything. But this nature, the spiritual nature, which is beyond that, which is parastasmatu bhava anya, that is separate from this whole material creation, that is never annihilated, and that is made up of complete only spiritual energy. There is no tinge of material energy there. And which is, that's why it is said that it is completely opposite in quality of material nature, because material nature goes through shadvikara. The shadvikara are the 6 transformations. The 6 transformations are, it comes into being, it takes birth, then it grows, then it stays for some time, it creates byproducts, then it starts dwindling or deteriorating, and in the end, the sixth transformation is it vanishes or it dies. But the spiritual energy is eternal and which is free from all these six transformations. It doesn't go through any of these transformations. And actually, in the second chapter, when Krishna explains about the nature of the soul, he explains all these qualities, that it cannot be burned by fire, it cannot be withered by wind, it cannot be cut by any of the weapon, it cannot be wet by the water. So all these qualities, it is eternal and it is never changing. So those all qualities are actually of spiritual nature, because soul is also a spiritual spark of Krishna. Mamaivansho jiva loke jiva bhuta sanatana. Krishna says in the 15th chapter that all these spiritual living entities, they are actually my amsha, but they are in this material world because of mind and the five senses. Manah shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. They are suffering, karshati, in this material world because they identify themselves with this material body, and because of that, they are suffering in this with the six senses which include mind. So our five knowledge acquiring senses and the sixth sense is considered as mind, because of which we are always suffering, or kind of we are seeking enjoyment and some temporary pleasure what we get to the senses, we consider that as happiness, but eventually we are suffering. So let's read the next verse also, and then we get into more detail. This is continuation of that description of the spiritual nature. So let's read. Avyaktoksara ityuktas.
Avyaktoksara ityuktas.
Avyaktoksara ityuktas.
Avyaktoksara ityuktas.
Tamahu paramam gatim.
Tamahu paramam gatim.
Tamahu paramam gatim.
Tamahu paramam gatim.
Yam prapya na nivartante.
Yam prapya na nivartante.
Yam prapya na nivartante.
Yam prapya na nivartante.
Yam prapya na
निवर्तन्ते
Tat dhama paramam nama.
Taddhamam paramam mama.
Tat dhama paramam mama.
Taddhama paramam mama.
Avyaktokshar ityuktas.
Avyaktoksara ityuktas.
Tamahu paramam gatim.
Tamahu paramam gatim.
gatim.
Yam prapya na nivartante.
Yam prapya na nivartante.
Taddhama paramam mama.
Taddhama paramam mama.
Okay, let's take a couple of recitations. How big is the purpose? Sunil Prabhu, you want to recite? Oi.
Avyaktoshara ityuktas.
Avyaktoshara ityuktas.
Tamahu paramam gatim.
Tamahu paramam gatim.
Yam prapya nivartante.
Yam prapya na nivartante.
Tattama paramam gammamam.
Taddhama paramam mama.
Paramam.
Chandrakant Prabhu.
Avyaktoshara ityuktas.
अव्यक्तोऽक्षर इत्युक्तः
Akshar ityukta.
Tamahu paramam gatim.
तमाहु परमं गतिम्
Paramam gatim.
Yam prapya na vartante.
Yam prapya na nivartante.
Taddhama paramam mama.
तद्धाम परमं मम
Thank you, Prabhuji. So, word for word meaning. Avyakta means unmanifested. Akshara means infallible. Iti means thus. Uktaha means is said. Tam means that. Ahu means is known. Paramam means the ultimate. Gatim means destination. Yam means which. Prapya means gaining or prapta kelela. Na means never. Nivartante means comes back. Tat means that. Dhama means place or abode. Paramam means supreme. Mama means mine. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. So here he is continuing with the description of the spiritual world. So that which the Vedantists describe as unmanifest and infallible. Avyakta and Akshara. Avyaktokshara iti uktas. Ukta means is said. So that place which is said to be Avyakta and Akshara means unmanifest and infallible. That which is known as the supreme destination, Paramam Dhama or Paramam Gatim. So that which is known as the supreme destination, that place from which having attained it, one never returns. Na nivartante. That is my supreme abode. So Krishna is describing about his own spiritual abode now, the spiritual kingdom. So that which Avyaktokshara iti uktas, iti ukta means to say. So the Vedantis, it is said that that place which doesn't get annihilated or created again, it is always there. It is Akshara, means it which never deteriorates and it is eternal. And that is known as Paramam Gatim, the supreme destination of all the living entities. And that place, Yam Prapya, one who attains that, Na Nivartante, he never comes back again in this material world. So that place from which having attained it, one never returns. Tad Dhama, that abode, that Dhama is Paramam Mama, my supreme abode. That is my supreme abode. That is my supreme Dhama. So he's giving description of this spiritual world. So let's read. Rajesh Parve Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Do you want to read the purport?
हाँ, yeah, okay, 1 second. ईश्वरी दरवाजा लॉक अपन बंद कर दो. हाँ, yeah. The supreme abode of the personality of Godhead, Krishna, is described in the Brahma Samhita as Chintamani Dhama, a place where all desires are fulfilled. The supreme abode of Lord Krishna, known as Goloka, Vrindavan, it is full of palaces made of touchstone. There are also trees called desire trees that supply any type of eatable upon demand. And there are cows known as Surabhi cows, which supply a limitless supply of milk. In this abode, the Lord is served by hundreds of thousands of goddesses of fortune, Lakshmis, and he is called Govinda, the primal god and the cause of all causes. The Lord is accustomed to blow his flute, Venu Kavantam. His transcendental form is the most attractive in all the worlds. His eyes are like lotus petals, and the color of his body is like the color of clouds. He is so attractive that his beauty excels that of thousands of cupids. He wears saffron cloth, a garland around his neck, and a peacock feather in his hair. In the BhagavadGita, Lord Krishna gives only a small hint of his personal abode, Goloka Vrindavan, which is the supermost planet in the spiritual kingdom. A vivid description is given in the Brahma Samhita, Vedic literatures, Katha Upanishad 1.311 state that there is nothing superior to the abode of Supreme Godhead, and that the abode is the ultimate destination. Purushanna param kinchitassa
Paramagati.
kashtha paramagati. Kashta paramagati. When one attains to it, he never returns to the material world. Krishna's supreme abode and Krishna himself are non-different, being of the same quality. On this earth, Vrindavan, 90 miles southeast of Delhi, is a replica of that supreme Golok Vrindavan, located in the spiritual sky. When Krishna descended on the earth, he spotted on the particular tract of land known as Vrindavan, comprising of about 168 square miles in the district of Mathura, India.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. So here
Hare Krishna.
it is describing about the spiritual planet of Krishna, and then Prabhupada describes quotes some verses from Brahma Samhita. Chintamani prakara sadmasu kalpa vriksha lakshavrate surabhira vipalavan yantam Lakshmi sahasra shata sambrama sevyavanam govindamadi purusham tamaham bhajami. That his abode is full of Chintamani. Chintamani means the touchstone which converts everything into gold, and everything basically there is Chintamani. And then the Kalpa Vriksha, all the trees there are actually desire trees. You can ask anything, you can get everything and anything from those trees. And the cows there are Surabhi cows which give unlimited milk. And Lakshmi Sahasrashata, hundreds and thousands, 100,000s of Lakshmis are always continuously serving Krishna there. Not just one Lakshmi. Goddesses of fortune, thousands of goddesses of fortune. Lakshmi Sahasrashata Sambrama Sevyamanam. And then Lord Brahma says, Govindam Adi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. To that Adi Purusha, Govinda, I worship. And then he also, Lord is accustomed to blow his flute. Venum Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayataaksham. Varahavatam Samasitam Buddhasundarangam. Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That he is Venum Kwanantam. He is blowing his flute. He's playing on his flute. Beautiful songs. He's always playing on his flute. Venum Kwanantam. Aravinda Dalayataaksham. And then his eyes are like lotus petals. Varahavatam. And he is holding a peacock feather on his head. Varhavitam Asama. Buddha Sundarangam, and Ambuddha Sundarangam, he is like, his bodily hue is beautiful, like a cloud filled with water, Ambuddha. And Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham, and then his beauty is such that Kandarpa means Madan or Cupid. So Kotyavadi Kandarpa, Cupid is supposed to be the most beautiful person in this whole material creation, because Cupid or Madan. So, but when there are hundreds and thousands of millions of Cupids, their beauty put together, maybe that can resemble with beauty of Krishna. Kandarpa Koti Kamaniya Vishesha Shobham. So he is so beautiful. So all these descriptions are given in Brahma Samhita and other literatures also. So that these all verses are there in Brahma Samhita. So that describes the whole spiritual world. Goloka Vrindavan, Goloka Dhamni Nijadhamni Talecha Tasya, Devi Mahesha Haridhama Suteshu Teshu. So all these descriptions of different planetary systems are also given in the Goloka Vrindavan. Goloka Evanivasati. And then he is residing in Goloka Vrindavan and performing his different pastimes. So this planet, Vaikuntha planets, so all these different Vaikuntha planets, there are multiple Vaikuntha planets, and there are specific different forms of Vishnus are the presiding deities in each Vaikuntha planet. And in this Vaikuntha planet, there are also other planets like the Ayodhya, where Ram is the presiding deity, or the other planets where different incarnations of Krishna are there, and they are the presiding deities, prominent deities in those planets. But the supreme planet, even in the spiritual world, the highest planet in the spiritual world, or the spiritual kingdom, is Goloka Vrindavan, where Krishna himself is living, and then he's eternally performing his pastimes, his Leela. But Prabhupada also mentions that the Vrindavan here, which is near Delhi, is the replica of that same Vrindavan. So whenever Krishna comes, just like whenever a president visits to other country, all his paraphernalia goes with him. So all his assistants, they go first and prepare for his visit, and then make sure that everything is in order before he visits that country. And then when the president comes, along with him also, there are so many other people come, and his associates come with him. In the same manner, when Krishna appears in this planet, all his associates also come with him with the replica of the same Goloka Vrindavan. So all this Govardhan Hill, or the Yamuna River, or the Shamakunda, Radhakunda, all these places or whole Brajabhumi, Brajamandal, everything is replica of Krishna. And when he comes here, including Radha-Rani, Yashoda Mata, Nanda Maharaj and his Gopa friends, they all come from Goloka Vrindavan to associate and perform this Leela with him. So that is the description of this spiritual planet, which is never ever annihilated, which is eternal, which is always there. And there are also different Vaikuntha planets. This is the description of the supreme Goloka Vrindavan planet, but the description of different Vaikuntha planets is also given in many other scriptures. And Srimad Bhagavatam in 2nd canto, when the creation happens, when Brahma, when he is given knowledge for creation. So that time, when Brahmaji performs tapa and he gets blessings of Krishna, or he gets the knowledge from Krishna, Tene Brahma Hridaya Adi Kavaye, this knowledge is revealed to him within the heart. Then he also visits Lord Vishnu in the planet, in his Vaikuntha planet, and that time also the description of when he visits, what he sees, that description is given in the 2nd canto. Also in the 3rd canto, 4 Kumaras, when they go to the spiritual kingdom. So there is a description of 7 different gates. So they cross the first 6 gates, but on the 7th gate, they meet the 2 Dwarapals, the two persons who are watching the gate, and their name is Jai and Vijay. So because they stop the 4 Kumaras, who are the first sons of Brahmaji in this material world, so because they stopped, these 4 young boys who decided to stay in a small 5-year-old boy format, even though they are the oldest one, they curse them to get birth, and eventually they get different births in this planet, as first Hiranyakashipu and Hiranyaksha, then Ravan and Kumbhakarna, and then Dantavakra and what's his name? Krishna killed him. Who was given the 100 benefits that Krishna didn't want to kill him? That name is on my tip of tongue.
Shishupal?
Say that again.
Shishupal?
Shishupal, yes. Dantavakra and Shishupal. Thank you. So Shishupal. So they come in those forms as the demonic forms, and because they were cursed by this, Jaya and Vijaya are cursed by these Brahmanas, and they do atrocities against Krishna, and they are liberated by killing by Krishna. So that's their curse. So there is also very, very nice description given in the 3rd canto of Srimad Bhagavatam about the spiritual kingdom. And also when Dhruva Maharaj, so we know Dhruva's story, right? When Dhruva, a young boy of 4 years, when he was not allowed to sit on the lap of his father, King Uttanapad, by his stepmother Suruchi, so he was very angry, and he went crying to his own mother Suniti, and then she told him that what she said is right, because your father doesn't love me as much as he loves her. And all she said is that if you do not have right to sit on your father's lap, or even on the Sinhasan, because you have not taken birth from her womb. So then he says, what should I do then? And then she tells that I have heard that all the sages say that you should worship Lord Shri Krishna, and then you should go to the forest and then worship him. So because he's so determined to attain that position, he starts walking immediately to the forest, merely 5-year-old boy. And on his way, he meets Narad Muni. And Narad Muni tries to stop him, and he tells him, "You are such a young boy. Why are you so angry one? Why do you want to get such a position?" So he's so determined that he said, "If you are going to help me," I understand. He first offers him obeisances, and then he tells him that if you are going to help me in my determination or my goal, then only talk to me. Otherwise, don't talk to me. But then Narad Muni understands that he's very determined, and then he gives him the mantra, the one we chant in the beginning, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And he tells him how Vidhi is to be performed. And then he goes to Madhuvan near Mathura. And then he performs severe tapasya there. And many great Rajarshis and many great sages who cannot attain something in many lifetimes, that he attains merely in 6 months. And then he's meditating on the Vishnu form, 4-handed Vishnu form within our heart. And then eventually he is focused completely on that Vishnu Murti in our heart, and then he stops seeing that Murti. And then his whole tapasya is disturbed, and then he opens his eyes, and then he sees Sakshat Narayan, the same 4-handed form, standing in front of him. And then he doesn't know what to say. And that Lord Narayan touches with his conch shell, his shankha, to his forehead, and then Dhruva Maharaj offers very beautiful prayers. And the most important thing he says that Swamin Kritarthosmi Varam Na Yache. That what I was aspiring for was merely like pieces of broken glass. But just by seeing you, I think that I have obtained the greatest diamond what one can have. I don't want anything anymore now. Swamin Kritarthosmi, my life has been all, what do you call, Kritartha zalaya माझा जन्म. Swamin Kritarthosmi. Varam na yache. I don't want anywhere anymore now. I don't want anything now. But because Lord is so merciful and he knows his heart, he says, because you had worshipped me for attaining a position from where nobody can move you, and a position that is greater than your father and then your grandfather and your great-grandfather, I have already arranged for that for you, and you will attain a planet which is even greater than your great-grandfather. Now, who is his father? His father is King Uttanapad, who is son of Swayambhuva Manu. So his grandfather is Manu himself. And Manu is son of Brahmaji. So his great-grandfather is Brahmaji himself. So Brahma's planet in this material world is considered the highest planet. But Dhruva is given even the higher planet than that is called Dhruva Loka, which is actually the Vaikuntha planet in this material world, which is also called as Kshirosagar. So whenever there is some disruption in this material world and all the devatas need help from Lord Vishnu, because everybody, including Brahma, Shiva, or all the devatas, whenever they need some help, they go to this place called Kshirosagar, and then they offer their prayers to Lord Vishnu, and then they ask for help. So that place is called Dhruva Loka, or that is the Vaikuntha. That is also one Vaikuntha planet in this material creation, or above this material, all the planetary systems. So that is the place Dhruva is given. And when he goes there, actually before he goes there, he goes back to home to King Uttanapad, and he welcomes him, realizing his mistake. Even his stepmother now welcomes him. And then he rules for 36,000 years. And at the end of 36,000 years, there is a long story that he fights with the Yakshas because they kill his brother Uttama. But after that, then he is liberated, and the Vaikuntha planet, Viman, comes to pick him up. And actually, we can read that, what he says. There are few, I had this. So this is in the fourth canto, 12th chapter. So in the fourth canto, 12th chapter, there is a description of how Dhruva Maharaj goes back to Godhead. And there is a description from some 33rd verse or 4, something like that. So what he sees how he goes to the spiritual planet. So he says that when Dhruva Maharaj was attempting to get a transcendental plane, so he went into the transcendental plane comes to pick him up. Then there are two carriers of Vishnu, Nanda and Sunanda, Vishnu Dutas. They come to pick him, and they are same as Vishnu Murti with four-handed forms. And when the great associates of Vaikuntha Loka, Nanda and Sunanda, could understand the mind. So when he boards the plane, and then he realizes, he thinks of his mother. He thinks that I got this position or whatever I am getting right now, and I am being taken to the spiritual planet only because of my mother, Suniti. So how can I leave her behind? And when he's thinking like that, they could understand his mind, and thus they showed him that his mother Suniti was also going forward in another plane. They show him the plane where there is another plane which is carrying his mother also. And when he is on the plane, on his ride to the Dhruva Loka, so while Dhruva Maharaj was passing through the space, he gradually saw all the planets of the solar system. And on the path, he also saw demigods in their airplanes showering flowers upon him like rain. So when he's passing from this planetary system to the Dhruva Loka, which is above the Brahma Loka, and in between there are 7 different planetary systems, which are Swarga, then Bhur, Bhuvar, Swat, then other is Mahar Loka, Jana Loka, Tapa Loka, etc., where other sages live, the Saptarshis, Mandal and everything. So he sees everything on his way. And Dhruva Maharaj thus surpassed the 7 planetary systems of the great sages, the Saptarshis, who are known as Saptarshi. Beyond that region, he achieved the transcendental situation of permanent life in the planet where Lord Vishnu lives, the Dhruva Loka where Lord Vishnu also lives. So that is the abode he got. That is the highest place in this world. And then here there is description of Dhruva Loka also. The self-effulgent Vaikuntha planets, by whose illumination alone all the illuminating planets within this material world give off reflected light, cannot be reached by those who are not merciful to the living entities. So only those devotees who are merciful to other living entities can reach there. And only persons who constantly engage in welfare activities for other living entities can reach that Vaikuntha planet. And the highest welfare activity is described in the scriptures is giving Krishna Bhakti to everyone, giving the spiritual understanding, making people understand that they are not the material body, they are spiritual being, and their eternal duty is to serve Krishna. Giving them this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam and Vedic literature to the living entities, that will actually free them permanently from the cycle of birth and death, is the highest welfare act one can do to the whole mankind. Krishna also says in the Bhagavad Gita in the end that one who gives this knowledge of Bhagavad Gita, whatever I have described you, Arjuna, that person is very dear to me and he will attain the highest planet in this world. Or even beyond, he will get to the spiritual world. That Krishna also guarantees in the end of Bhagavad Gita in 18th chapter. And then, so the description given here, Prabhupada also quotes the verse what we are studying here, Parastasmatu Bhavanya. So the two So only such spiritual astronauts, so the astronauts who came to pick him, the Nanda and Sunanda, who are Vishnu Dutas, only that type of astronauts can take one the living entity from here to the spiritual kingdom. And it is also mentioned in one of the verses before, actually, that his whole body, Dhruva's whole body, transformed into a spiritual body, because nobody can go to spiritual world in the material body. So his body is like a golden hue, and which transformed into spiritual body, and then he went to the spiritual planet, that is Dhruva Loka. And these planets are known as Vishnu Loka or Vaikuntha Loka. And this cannot be attained by anyone who has even a slight tinge of material desire. And that person gets in Abrahma Bhuvana Loka. That's what we read in the previous verses. Abrahma Bhuvana Loka. Punaravartina. So he gets into this material world. And then the description of the two aspects of Vaikuntha planets. The first is that Vaikuntha sky, there is no need of sun and moon. So this is also explained in the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita. Na tad bhasayate suryo na shashanko na pavaka yad gatva na nivartante tad dhama paramam. Na tad bhasayate suryo. For there, for light, bhasayate, for illumination, there is no need of sun. Na tad bhasayate suryo. Na shashanka. There is no need of moon or electricity or fire, because all the luminaries there are self-effulgent. And yat gatva na nivartante, same thing what we read just now, na nivartante, one who reaches there, tad dhama paramam. So that abode we are talking about, that is the spiritual kingdom he is talking about in these two verses. And just like we say in this material world, that the moon does not have its own illumination, but it reflects the light it gets from sun. So in the same manner, even sun does not have its own energy. It gets the energy from the planets in the Vaikuntha Loka. The original source of all the energy is actually coming from the spiritual kingdom. The source of energy in this material creation in this universe is sun. So everything, all the energies what we see around us is actually solar energy. Even though we create electricity, we may claim that we generate electricity because of hydroelectric power plant or solar plants or wind or other different methods of energies. But everything, if we find how this is happening, everything is happening only because of sun. The air flows because of the different pressure created by the energy of sun on this planet. And because of that, we get energy, wind energy. And because of that only we can get the wind power. Same thing about ocean. The waves are created because of the solar energy, and that's how we get energy. The hydroelectric power plant, the sun heats the water in the ocean. It creates clouds. That clouds drops the water in the form of rain on the mountain top, and that water flows down again, and that's how that energy is used in the hydroelectric power plant. So even that energy actually is created by sun. So everything, the source of energy in the material creation is sun. But that sun also get energy from the spiritual planetary system, both heat and light. So that is what the spiritual kingdom is made up of. That's the description we read in today's two verses about the spiritual creation, which is beyond this material creation and which is eternal and which never ever gets annihilated. So any thoughts, Prabhuji? I'll stop the description now, but any thoughts? Madhusudan Prabhu has dropped. It's probably busy. Yes.
मटेरियल बॉडी टू स्पिरिच्युअल बॉडीचं अजून एक उदाहरण आठवतं म्हणजे संत ज्ञानेश्वर. त्यांच्याबद्दल पण असंच म्हणतात ना की संजीवन समाधी त्यांनी घेतली तर त्याची मटेरियल बॉडी गॉट कन्वर्टेड टू स्पिरिच्युअल बॉडी.
Yes.
आणि म्हणून तिथं ते चैतन्य आहे असं माझ्या ते बोलताना लक्षात आलं.
Okay. Yeah, that's even Tukaram Maharaj also, when he Vaikuntha plane came to pick him, actually it is said that it is said people see that he went in the same body, but the body transformed into spiritual body. Yes, that's very nice example, Swami Prabhu. So here Krishna is giving description of the spiritual world, what is it and where, how it is beyond this whole material creation. So any other thoughts, Prabhuji? Description of material kingdom.
क्लिअर म्हणजे व्हॉट एव्हर इज एक्सप्लेन अंडरस्टँड झालं.
ऍटलिस्ट एवढं कळलं की याच्या पलीकडे पण काहीतरी आहे.
खरं क्लिअर व्हायला तर इट विल टेक लॉंग. वी डोंट इवन नो, बट येस, आय मीन
शब्दांचे अर्थ कळले काय म्हणायचंय ते.
दॅट्स गुड.
तो एक्सपिरियन्सचा अर्थ कळणं जरा कठीण आहे, बट इट्स, आय मीन one thing that comes out is the spiritual world is even beyond the solar system. So the source of energy, the cosmic energy which people say, sopa hai sangaila, but I mean it's something very, very esoteric in essence. You know, you can't even imagine.
Correct.
Wonderful. I mean, see the kind of thought, something that left to us, we would never even think, right? I mean, since we are taught at school, sun is the source of all energy. ते रट्टा मारून आपण बसलोय. But actually हा energy हा प्रकार, we never think. And here he makes us think beyond. It's that cosmic energy which we think, you know, we normally say there is a power above us. But you know, you actually sense that power above us with all these. The detailing that goes. And wonderfully, I mean, it's explained even for a layman so well in especially the story of Dhruva Maharaj. You know, it's so vivid. म्हणजे न कळणाऱ्याला सुद्धा एक इमॅजिनेशन उत्पन्न होते. You get to imagine something. Not that those experiences can be understood, because we are, after all, normal people. But at least it gives us a very good, you really start knowing, Baba, we thought we were a speck of sand, but we are not even that.
It at least, at least, even if somebody doesn't accept it or it doesn't matter, but it is at least thought provoking.
Absolutely. And not accept karala, you know, you have to be somewhat illogical or a student who doesn't know. Yeah, I mean, the way we have gone through, we have seen enough, right? Cutting times and good times. And there are some things definitely by now we know are not explainable. Everything that we thought we did, we also actually know that it is not us. Something has done. Now that something's a graphic explanation slowly starts evolving. That's what is most important for us to realize.
And when I read for first time this Bhagavad Gita or tried to understand this in English, and unfortunately I had to read it in English to understand. That's probably my misfortune.
That is the sadness we all carry.
Yeah. But I understood it much better when I read in English, and in association of devotees, obviously I wouldn't have understood just reading myself. But then it made a lot of sense that it is all written in black and white here, and then
we are looking around the world.
I have been brainwashed for 16 years school. So But yeah, everything makes, even if I try to, any sane man who is a logical thinker and who tries to understand this, he will see, yes, there is some source of energy. And I think that, oh, sun is the source of energy. But here it says that, oh, no, even sun gets energy from something. And that source of energy is really unlimited, that spiritual kingdom. And when in the second chapter, it was easy to understand, means with the practical examples that Krishna gives, that, oh, there is a difference between spirit and matter. And from my own self, I can understand when I think, oh, I'm, even in theoretical perspective, even I may not probably realize it, but I understand, oh, I am not this body. There is something, I am different than this body.
Yes.
And that, Krishna says, is the spiritual energy. And everything, and imagine that small spiritual spark can move this whole body, and it energizes this whole body with consciousness. And that the whole creation beyond there is actually, whole thing is spiritual.
Correct.
So that made me think that like it was a big light bulb in my head. I wouldn't say it has lightened enough to reveal me everything, but at least it made me think a lot.
Correct.
So thank you so much, Prabhuji. Thank you for joining today. Thank you for your reflections. I hope
Yeah.
Hare Krishna.